today for Make 2026 Your Best Year Ever, SEO and AI for Community Association Management Growth, presented by myself, John Leutermann. So just a few ground rules here. So Brianna from the Big Rock marketing team is in the call behind the scenes, and she will be able to answer any questions or answer any technical questions you may have using the chat feature on the right-hand side of the screen. And also, if you have any questions, I will answer them at the end, but feel free to add them at any point throughout the presentation, and we will cover the questions at the end. And also on the right-hand side, there is a handout tab, and you'll be able to download the slide deck from today's presentation, as well as anyone who signed up for the webinar today will get a copy of the webinar video shortly after the call, and that will come straight to your email. So I will get started now. I'm John Leutermann, president of Big Rock Marketing. I have over 15 years of digital marketing SEO experience with a proven track record for growing CAM businesses through, and so Big Rock helps CAM companies grow their websites with SEO, AI, and Google Ads. And today, specifically, we will be discussing how the board member search has changed, how AI specifically is changing the game, and how SEO still needs to be a focus, and how CAM companies should handle reviews. And then also we will be doing Q&A at the end. So why 2026 is a turning point for CAM companies? Search behavior is changing fast, and board members are researching you before they ever contact you. So I work with a lot of owners and executives, marketing professionals from HOA management companies, and one of the big things that they tell me is that a lot of our leads are referrals, and that's great. That's a really good position to be in. But the one thing to keep in mind is that those people, even if they are referrals, are doing their homework before they come and visit you, or before they call you, or before they submit a form on your website. So everything that you can do online to put the best impression forward is super important. And so by that, I mean having a great website, having great reviews, all of your online presence is polished and looks good to a prospective board member. AI tools now influence who gets, like, which businesses get recommended. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that in the presentation today as well. And things have changed where it used to be that visibility was all that you needed to be able to rank and to get traffic to your website. So now that has changed, and some of the AI tools specifically are looking at more aspects of your business throughout the internet to get a judge for your business. Early movers who can act quickly to adopt to the new model will be able to lock in visibility advantages that will be hard for competitors to outmatch. So now is really a great time. And for everyone who's joined us today, congratulations on taking the first step and for being ahead of the curve and actually investing time. I know how valuable everyone's time is, so investing the time to actually learn about this and to see how you can help your businesses grow and succeed. So how boards are finding CAM companies today. So Google search, and so there is still the traditional Google search, but it has shifted with a heavy emphasis now on AI overviews and AI mode. So if you don't know, so AI overviews is the section that looks like a paragraph towards the top of Google search results. And that is Google sort of presenting information to you on their findings. And so what this has led to is a downtick in the number of people who are actually visiting HOA management company websites. And so on the surface, that may seem like a bad thing, but when I dig deep into Google Analytics for these individual sites, sometimes the traffic is down because people aren't coming to the site, but the number of leads is not going down. And so what I'm saying is that there's oftentimes less traffic, but the traffic that does come is higher quality. And that is because Google is just giving people, if people have a question about your business or about something to do with the industry, they're just giving them the answer. they used to have to go to a website to find the answer. Now Google's just giving them the answer. But the good news is that Google doesn't sell HOA management. Like it even though people are staying on that site, the people who are serious about using an HOA management company still have to contact an HOA management company, most likely visit their website. And so even though the traffic is down, we're getting on a higher quality traffic. And so the number of leads is the same and often up in many cases. And also AI mode. So AI mode is very similar to ChatGPT. And sort of what we're hearing, the word on the street is that Google may end up shifting over to this type of experience eventually. And so that's just kind of a preview. And that is when you do a Google search, it's a tab on the above the search bar to the left. And so you can take a look in there and you can look at it. And it's very similar to how a ChatGPT experience is. Also, board members are using Google Maps and Google Business Profiles. And so management companies can get up to 30% of their leads through those profiles. And so those are super important to optimize and to manage. Some board members are using ChatGPT, Perplexity, and AI assistants. I think the total number of people coming from those sites to your website is probably in the single digits still. I've heard as low as 1% in some cases. So when we talk about AI search, and it is growing, the majority of that growth right now is coming through Google products, but there is some growth still with the other companies as well. Next is review sites, comparison sites, and best of type sites. So examples of these would be the BBB and Yelp. And so I think these have always played a role, but I've probably spoken to 10 different management companies in the last month or so about this. And they didn't realize that on the BBB, there's actually an ability to leave reviews. So there's the traditional, they have like a moderation system. So people can leave like a formal complaint for a business, and then it's moderated by the BBB and companies have a chance to respond. But there's also a section of reviews similar to Google reviews. And so many companies aren't taking advantage of this. And so many companies don't even realize it exists. And the reason why I put this in the slide is because the AI search tools are looking for other sites besides Google to find information about your business. And so these are some of the places that they're going. And so if somebody asks, so I live in Milwaukee area. So if somebody asks, who is the best HOA management company in Milwaukee? The AI search tools are going to search the BBB, Yelp, other third-party sites. They're going to look at your website. And so making sure that you have a full profile filled out with positive reviews. Those are super helpful things that you can do to make sure that you're showing up in those results. And so the reality is that most decisions are happening before a form fill or a call. And so you can have the best salesperson in the world, but if the person decides not to contact your company, that doesn't matter. So making sure that all of your online presence is polished and looking good is a great way to go. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences between traditional SEO versus SEO plus AI visibility. And so the old model was, I usually will mention Google because Google had 90+% market share. And so it was, add some content to your website, rank for some keywords, get a click, and then hope that they convert. And the new model is be trusted by Google and AI. So that happens through your website, but also some of those other sites that they're searching as well, like BBB and Yelp. Also, Reddit is a big one. So being trusted by Google and AI and other AI search tools, and then showing up in maps, summaries, and recommendations, and then reinforcing the trust across multiple platforms. And so really it's doing a lot of the things that we've always done, having a really strong website with a good foundation, but also making sure that your presence across the internet is very positive for your business, so that when these tools are searching to find a recommendation for the right business to display, that your business has the best opportunity to show up. So how do they work together? How does SEO and AI visibility work together? So SEO, like the traditional SEO, provides structure, authority, and clarity. And AI, like I've mentioned, pulls from the trusted, consistent sources. So strong SEO, so having traditional strong SEO, like having all the right elements on your website, gives you a higher likelihood of having an AI recommendation. And traditional search and AI are blended as Google continues to dominate and transition into AI. So right now they sort of have a blend of AI type results and traditional results, but we're pretty confident that they're going to continue the transition over to more AI type experiences for the consumer. So, and the bottom line is that if AI doesn't trust you, it won't mention you. So I'm kind of being redundant here, but this is super important. So I want to make sure that this is covered fully here. So the trust signals that matter in 2026. So Google reviews. Google reviews have always mattered. Specifically, the quantity, quality, and recency are all factors in helping you display, in helping your information display higher on Google. So how many reviews do you have total? What is the star rating? What are the people saying in those reviews about your business? So are they talking about HOA management services? Are they talking about other things? So the words that are being used are an important indicator for Google as to what your business does. And then the recency. So if you have, let's say, 50 reviews, but you haven't had one in the last year, you're going to get dinged on the recency element. And so my recommendation is kind of come up with a strategy that works for your business and stick with it consistently and try to get a consistent number of reviews. Of course, if you can get a growing number of reviews. So I didn't add it to this slide, but velocity. So if you can increase the number of reviews that you get over time, that's even more important. It shows that your business is growing. And so that's super important. The consistency of NAP, which is name, address, phone number, and then also service information. So making sure that your information is correct anywhere that Google or an AI search tool finds it across the internet. So even some of the small sites that you may have a profile on that you don't think matter too much, making sure that the information is consistent because they are crawling those sites as well. Authoritative mentions and backlinks. And so this is kind of a bigger topic, but authoritative mentions could be if you've won an award for anything. Even being accredited by the BBB is important. I know there is a cost associated with that, and oftentimes the same is true of backlinks. But having backlinks, also like having a profile on the CAI website, and if you happen to live in one of the states that has, for example, California has the California Association for community managers. And if you're a member there, making sure that you have your online profile filled out there, those are very authoritative backlinks. There's a handful of directories in the HOA management industry. If you can get listed on those, that's super important. Next is demonstrated expertise. So having helpful content on your website. And so, if you take two management companies and they do the exact same thing, let's say, for example, and one just has kind of a light website because they didn't want to overwhelm visitors. They didn't want to put a lot of information on their website. And the other has a very robust website with full pages about each type of community that they serve and full pages for each area that they serve and resources for board members to come and learn and get new information. That website's going to do much better than the one who decided to go light on the content. So it's really important that all the knowledge that you share and that you have is fully demonstrated on your website, because that's the only way that Google and AI search tools are going to know about your business, is by having the information out there. Next is ongoing activity and freshness. And so that could be in the form of making sure your Google business profile is up to date, making sure your website is up to date. If you have information that changes on your website, making sure that it's updated Refreshing your content every so often is important as well. Next is proof of HOA specific experience. And so oftentimes, that comes in the form of reviews. It comes in the form of information on your website, just making sure that any opportunity you have to talk about your business, that you are mentioning the experience that you have specifically with HOA management. And then the consistency across your website, Google Business Profile, and directories. So I'm mentioning that again. It's just making sure that your information is clear and trustworthy and consistent across all the different places online that you have your business information. So that is super important. Now I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into reviews. So Google Maps specifically, there's a survey that comes out every year, and it surveys people in the SEO industry, and they give their opinion on what is influencing visibility and influencing rankings. And now they've added AI, and every year reviews is one of the top items that can influence your Google Maps rankings. And so it's super important to come up with a game plan for getting reviews. And so this is a really tough industry. Your businesses are many times getting negative reviews for things that happened. They were rules that you did not set. The board set the rule, but your business was responsible for enforcing them, and it's really not a fair situation. But unfortunately, Google doesn't care. So, and I'm going to show an example of a business later, but it is possible to get 4.5 or a greater star rating in this industry, but that doesn't happen naturally. It really takes a coordinated effort to request reviews from people who are happy. And so, when you solve a problem for a homeowner and they're singing your praises, that's a great time to ask for a review. If you have a vendor who has been given the opportunity to work in multiple communities, they'll oftentimes be willing to leave a review for you. And then also the same is true of board members. Board members, when you help them with something, that is a great time to ask to leave a review. So really, reviews comes down to asking the right person at the right time every single interaction. So and oftentimes managers are the best people who will know who would do that for them and who has positive sentiment. Obviously, you don't want to send anyone who's had a bad experience to your Google profile. That could backfire. But the businesses who've done the best are just very consistent with it, getting reviews every week, every month, year after year after year. And then next is feed AI perception of credibility. And so AI is trying to determine, the AI tools, other than Google, don't have their own review systems yet. So they don't know whether you're credible or not. So they're looking elsewhere. And I'll mention again, the BBB and Yelp are huge places where they get that information from. And then reviews act as social proof for boards. So the majority of board members, before they would contact you, are looking at your online reviews. And so they will already have either a positive or negative sentiment prior to contacting you. So having those positive reviews is super helpful. It reduces friction in sales conversations. So if they see that a bunch of different communities were having positive experiences with your business, they will know that before even talking to you. And sometimes it can help answer objections before the sales call. Like if there's things that have been discussed in the Google reviews, they might be able to kind of read that and get a feeling for your business before actually speaking with you. And, I always tell people that the negative reviews are going to come in, especially in this industry. It's tough. But when writing a response, it's super important that the person who was personally involved and might be a little bit emotional about the situation isn't the one responding. Because in reality, when you're responding to a Google review or a Yelp review or a BBB review, you're not writing your response for the person who left the negative review. Like that person is already a lost cause. Like you're not going to be able to change the situation, right? But you're writing it and when you're writing it, you want to keep in mind that you're writing it for the next person who wants to see how your business reacted when they had, a bad situation. How did they handle it? Did they get defensive? Did they blame the other person, or did they accept responsibility, say that they're going to get better, and move on? And that's not to say you're supposed to just roll over when somebody gives factually inaccurate information. You can definitely give your side of the story, but don't be defensive about it. Just be matter of fact, and if there's anything that you're doing internally to make sure that that doesn't happen again, it's very important to lay that out. And then also, the reviews help boards justify decisions internally. So if they're considering using your company, it's very easy to say, just check out their Google reviews, look at all the great work they've done, and CAMs with strong review profiles win faster. So they're able to get more business, they're able to get better rankings. So it just helps all around. So we're going to talk about some tips for optimizing your website for the new search experience. So super important is to have clear service and service area pages. So you need to send the signals of who you serve and where. And so specifically, if you serve, single family homes, gated communities, condos, townhouses, you should have a separate page on your website for each of those different types of communities that you serve. Although the service would be very similar from community to community, many times board members are searching by, condo management. So if you only have an HOA management page and you just have like a bullet item that talks about condos, that won't be as powerful as if you have a full page dedicated to condo management. And so it's important to have a dedicated page to each type of service you offer, and then also service area pages. So if you are in a major metropolitan area and you service 10 communities, it's important to have a service area page for each of those communities, as those tend to do very well in search. And it also sends the signal to both Google and to AI search tools that those are the areas that you serve. So we're not going to leave anything to chance. We're going to have full pages dedicated to each type of community you serve and each community that you serve. So you want to have HOA specific expertise signals. And so this will come primarily in the form of content. So making sure that you talk about how many years of experience you have, how long you've been doing it. If you have managers who've been around for 10, 15 years, it's important to mention that. So just making sure that you demonstrate your expertise through your content on your website. And also, so having helpful board-focused educational content, and this could come in the form of blogs or like guides or resources. I think we used to recommend blogs to management companies, and we still do in some cases, but I think because AI content is so easy to create now, it's more important to go deeper on your content. So by that, I mean like long form guides. So the guide to, what you need to learn as a new board member, or, resources that talk specifically about, financial reporting, or, going into like super specific things, and then also making sure it's localized. So if you serve the majority of your state, it could be localized to your state. If you just serve a certain metropolitan area, having it localized to that region. And the reason for that is that if you write a blog post on financial reporting and it's just general, you'll be competing with every management company across the country for search search rankings. But if you write it localized or state, have it specific to your state, you'll just be competing with that area. So it narrows the field down. So providing more localized content is super helpful. And then when it comes to your website, you want to make sure you have a fast, mobile-friendly experience. And so, I think it's hard that most of the time web designers who are designing a website are doing it on a desktop device. So sometimes they miss some of those little nuances that would make it look great on a mobile device, a phone specifically. So just checking your website every once in a while on a phone to make sure that it actually is mobile friendly and that all the menus, all the images, look good so that there isn't, content being overlapped by images or just things that look out of place. So checking on your phone is good. And then having clear calls to actions for board members. And many people will, use the terminology like request a consultation or community assessment or request a proposal, just making sure that you have calls to actions on your website that speak directly to board members. And then final thing is having content written to answer common board member questions. So FAQs are super important. And especially with AI search as it continues to evolve, people are typically asking questions on there where people used to just use Google primarily just to type in keywords. So now as people are asking questions, if you have the answers to those questions on your website, you have the best chance of showing up there. And so what I recommend is to add FAQs to each page of your website that talks about, so if it's, let's say, a condo management page, having, between 5 and 10 FAQs, it can be at the bottom of the page about condo management so that you've kind of covered all your bases in depth and help you show up in those searches as well. So your Google business profile. So Google business profile, it can drive up to 30% of your leads. And so it's super important, especially for localized brands. And even if you're a multi-location management company, you're going to want to have a Google profile for each one of your individual locations. These profiles can influence AI summaries and map results. And I think what happens with a lot of businesses is that they set them up and they think, okay, we're good. We don't need to do anything. But what we found with management companies is that every month Google is auto updating some of the services that you provide on your profile. And some of the stuff that we've seen is pretty laughable. Like they will just grab random things that they find either on a third-party site or on your website. And just to give an example, so if you have a careers page and you're hiring for an administrative assistant, and you're going to do a background check, what we've seen is that they take that and they add the service background checks, which makes it seem like your business provides background checks like as a service to people. And so it's just kind of a weird experience. So we go in there on a monthly basis and clean those up for you, and just make sure that that isn't displaying a negative impression of your business. So and the Google business profiles can drive calls, directions, and can help shortlist decisions for board members. And so some of the key areas that you want to focus on with your Google business profile is going to be the services section, and then the descriptions that go along with those services, and then also the categories. And so with categories, you can have up to, I believe it's 10 now. You want to have as many categories as closely related to your business as possible. Services, I don't think there's a limit, but within each category, you want to add services that reflect your business. And so, using the same kind of example as we've used. So if you, I think the main category that most people use is property management because they don't actually have an HOA management one. But within property management, you could include condo management, townhouse management, single family home management. So having listed those as services and then write a description for each one. And then also, so photos, adding photos over time is helpful and helps your profile rank better. So it's important to keep those up to date. Anytime you get new photos that you can add, to add those in as well. Reviews. So talked a lot about reviews already, but reviews are super important. And then also responding to them. It is important to respond to all your reviews. So I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into some of the content that attracts and converts board members. So, like guides, like how to choose a management company or how to choose a community association management company. That's super helpful for individual board members who might be looking and who, especially new board members that aren't experienced. Those types of guides will be super helpful. And again, localized to your area. educational resources and blogs, not salesy kind of things. You have to be very careful. The true goal is to provide free information, and that will go much further than trying to sell somebody in a blog post or an educational resource. So, new board member tips and tricks, local experience-based insights, and then answers to common board concerns and fears. So, helpful content equals authority and trust for your business and will definitely help you. So I'm going to share my screen now and show some different websites, some examples of things that I've found through the years that that I think are really good examples. So I will do that now. So here is an example of Cedar Management Group, and they have a section on their website for, I'm just going to go over here. So for board member resources, they have a whole section that includes ebooks, HOA templates, videos, and then state laws. And so this is really a great way to demonstrate your expertise and to put something out there that somebody might be searching for an architectural change document. And if you have an example one that people can use or even just look at, it gives you a good chance of showing up in those searches. So that is great. They've got guides to Robert's Rules of Order, additional articles, a webinar library. So a really good example of a board member resource section. Powerstone Property Management. I just like that they have, all these different services that they provide here. They also have some resources as well. Just a nice looking website in general. Some trust symbols over here. Best Places to Work Award, CAI Award, ACMC, CACM, all these logos that just send powerful signals to people. First Service Residential. What I thought was interesting about their site is their menu. So they have just a ton of information here. And again, so a page for each type of community that they serve. So that is super helpful. They have a resource section, different ways to connect. They have webinars, FAQs, resource library, top articles, and then just regular articles. They also have a section for the residents, try to direct people to the correct part of their website. Lots of different pages for About Us, careers, and then they have a request a proposal page that's clearly, designed for board members. Real Manage as well. The one thing I wanted to mention about this one is their menu. So, who we serve, types of communities, their services. They have a ton of information on here. So they're multi-location, so it's very easy for someone when you have a lot going on in your business, when you provide a lot of services to a lot of different areas, it's very hard to be able to demonstrate that quickly. And I think they've done a really nice job of having it all in their menu so people can quickly see whether they service their area or not. And this is kind of like their features and benefits. They're selling the different services that they provide and reasons why you want to work with them. And they also talk about who they are so you can quickly do your homework. And then resources as well. And then this was an example of a management company who has a 4.7 out of 5-star review rating, which is amazing for this industry. And they are getting reviews on a consistent basis, just, multiple per week. And so just wanted to point that out, that it is possible. And they're doing a really great job of that. So I will go back to the presentation. So what are CAM companies who are winning? What are they doing differently? So they're investing in visibility before the demand peaks. And so that's staying ahead of the curve, especially with AI search now. They're building trust across platforms. So not just Google and their website, they're making sure that all their online presence, all the places that they have an online presence are fully optimized. They're treating SEO as an asset, not an expense. They're using AI as a visibility amplifier, and they're measuring their results on a consistent basis. And by that, it would be making sure that you have like Google Analytics installed on your website, that you're keeping track of every lead that comes in, whether it's from your website or from a phone call, that you ask, how did you hear about us? And then putting that information somewhere. For some businesses, it could be as simple as a spreadsheet. For others, it's a CRM. And so it doesn't matter how you're doing it. It's just a matter of making sure that you are keeping track of your results and making sure that what you're doing is working. And then aligning marketing with your sales outcomes as well. And so how to start winning in 2026. So audit your current visibility. Take a look at what you have out there, where your information is listed. And a great way to do this is to Google your name. And then also, you can also put your address in to make sure that you're seeing all of your different all the places that you have an online presence. Fixing your trust gaps. So if you have, like let's say, for example, the BBB or Yelp, where you don't have as good of reviews or don't have any reviews, making sure that you come up with a plan to get some. Optimizing your website and your Google business profile. Publishing helpful community association management specific content on a regular basis. And committing to ongoing optimization. And so I realize the things I'm talking about are no easy task, right? It takes a lot of work, but the best way to do it is to do a little bit every week or a little bit every month and just work at it, because you know that some of your competitors are doing that. And so it's important to not just do like a one-time thing and call it done. It's important to keep going with your optimizations, to track your progress at least quarterly, if not monthly. And then also just stay, like attending this webinar is a great way to do this, but there's other sources as well, making sure that you're adapting as AI and search evolve. This is like an unprecedented time as far as the speed at which things are changing. So just making sure that you have the latest information and that you're able to implement the latest best practices. And so in summary, boards are using Google and AI to choose management companies before they're reaching out to you. And your visibility depends on the trust signals and your consistency and your expertise. SEO now fuels AI recommendations, not just rankings like before. Your Google business profile and your reviews are revenue drivers. So they're not just, something that comes in, they are something that actually will drive revenue. So think of them like that instead of just something that you have to manage. Integrated search engine optimization and AI strategies attract better fit communities. So having the right information on your website will attract the right types of communities. The management companies who act now will win more faster and with less friction. So the bottom line is that visibility and trust will equal your predicted growth in 2026. So I just wanted to mention, we will be diving deeper into various aspects of the things that we went over today. And so starting next month, we're going to have a 4-part webinar series. These will be shorter, 30 to 45-minute webinars, one per week starting February 10th. And so we're going to talk about the 2026 digital landscape for management companies. We're going to then go into specifically local search and Google business profiles. Then we're going to have a full webinar dedicated to how to stay ahead of the AI search curve. And then the last one will be specifically targeting how to make your website your best salesperson. So really, we're going to kind of take some of the information from today and dive deep into each specific aspect so that you can learn more and help your business grow. And I'm going to put on the screen now a sign up for that. And when you sign up for this webinar series, you will be signing up for all 4. So you don't have to sign up 4 times. It will and it will give you calendar reminders each time that the event comes up each week. So you'll get email reminders, and it will go onto your calendar as 4 different events as well. And I wanted to offer to everyone on the call today, if you'd like a free website and AI review for your business, you can book it at bigrockonline.com/webinar. And we will do a free consultation session where I will take a look at your website and give you specific information, tips, and tricks on how to improve your online presence so that you have customized information so that you know exactly what you can do. And of course, if you have any questions, or if you want to just talk, you want to talk about your business or your marketing, I put my phone number, my email, my website on there. So I'm happy to help. I love working with management companies and love answering questions. I have a deep knowledge of this, and I love sharing it. So feel free to reach out at any time. And now is a good time. If anyone has any questions, please type them into the chat. And Brianna, if you've had any questions come up, please let me know and I'll answer them now.
Hi, John. We do have some questions from people. So the first question is, what has the biggest impact on visibility?
Yeah, that is a great question. So there are so many things that are important, but if I had to choose one thing to put the biggest emphasis on, I would say that it is the website, because without that, Google, is just kind of getting information from third parties. So the best source of information is your website. And like I had mentioned in the webinar, having really deep knowledge or deep information about all of the services you provide and where you provide them, that is going to have the biggest impact on visibility. And the other things that we discussed, like the other websites, third-party sites, BBB, Yelp, your Google Business Profile, those things are all super important. But if I had to pick just one, it would be having an amazing website for yourself.
Okay, great. Someone else wanted to know, what keywords should we try to rank our website for?
That's a great question. And the answer to that will depend on what types of communities you serve. But the big ones are HOA management companies. And this would be variations. So like HOA management would be the base, and then company or service will be, an additional keyword at the end. And then you can get into so the two general ones are going to be HOA management and community association management. And then when you get a little bit deeper into like specific types of communities, it would be, condo management, high-rise management, luxury high-rise management, townhome management, gated community management, single-family home management. So those are the big keywords. Think about like the big buckets of what types of communities you serve, and that's often what people are searching for.
Okay, and then one other person asked, what AI search tools should we pay attention to?
What AI search tools should we pay attention to? That's a good question. So, as far as measuring the results in AI, I have a recommendation. So I think the question is asking about which different like search engines should people pay attention to. And I would say right now Google still has the largest market share on that. So Google AI overviews and Google Mode are going to be the most important AI search tools right now, and then followed by ChatGPT. So of the companies that aren't or of the tools that aren't owned by Google, ChatGPT has 60% market share among the remaining ones. So it'd be, Google AI Mode, Google AI Overviews, then ChatGPT, and then the rest of them are all like single digits. So if you have to focus on just a few, it's going to be the two Google products, and then ChatGPT. And if you're looking for a tool to be able to track how you're doing on all the different AI search tools, I've been using RankScale AI, which has been phenomenal. They have a really nice tracking system out there, and I would recommend that for everyone.
That's
There.
all of the questions I have. If anyone in the webinar has any questions, you can just type them into the chat.
Okay, looks like we don't have any additional questions. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you for taking the time, and thank you for committing to learning about this important topic. And as I mentioned, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And if you'd like the free website and AI analysis, please visit bigrockonline.com/webinar. Thank you.